All right, so this is a new one I just found. So a South Korean got breached, and it revealed a key management failure. So I'd like to see what they did wrong. API, sounds like unprotected API endpoints, which is very common. This is something you'll see in a whole lot of websites. Now, if you have a web server, like the one serving this page, it listens for requests on port 443 and serves out the page. But what you do is you add other endpoints, like you'll have bleepingcomputer.com, and then you have /login/delete/name/picture, and the phone apps work that way. They send a little request to the API endpoint that does one little thing, like load the picture so I can show you the picture of this person, load the profile, that kind of thing. And one thing that is extremely common is they keep adding endpoints, and different people add endpoints at the company. And what happens is sooner or later somebody adds an endpoint and they don't include the authentication, which makes sure that you've actually properly logged in to do that action. This is extremely common because if you forget to authenticate one of them, everything works. The app works, the customers are happy, management is happy, nobody will notice anything is wrong until you get a hacker that tries to do something bad and is able to get away with it. They're able to load personal data like pictures of people without logging in as that person first, that sort of thing. So anyway, it sounds like that's what they did here. This happens quite commonly. There is an API endpoint that will load an authorization token, which lets you log in as somebody, and that call is not protected. So you can load effectively other people's passwords and get in there. This is really common. In fact, there's another news article I saw a couple of days ago where this company from 2022 through 2026, for a 4-year period, they just scanned all the public repositories on GitHub and various code repositories to see how many people just left API keys just sitting there in the source code. And they found like 70,000 of them. And they tested, and hundreds of them are still active and still have full administrator access to people's cloud environments. So this is something, when I teach pen testing and other security classes, people are sort of horrified to find out that most hacking is not any brilliant, complicated thing. Somebody just left the door open and you can just walk right in where you're not supposed to be. Or they just left the key lying around where you can find it. That's what a lot of attacks are. And in fact, if you get into the game of having it for years, where you find new vulnerabilities and you report them, everybody says, you got to patch right away or the bad guys will use it. Well, the bad guys almost never bother with any of the new stuff or the complicated stuff. They just use the same old stuff that's been working all along. Why bother doing anything complicated when they can just go on a forum and buy somebody's password for $30 and get in? There's simple ways. Anyway, that's why real defense is not so technical. It's mostly a human problem. Real defense is a management problem. How do you stop your employees from doing stupid things, like installing some game they brought from home and things like that? Anyway, that's one common security flaw. This one is pretty exciting. So you get infected with this Windows malware. It waits in memory for a magic packet which turns it on. This is an interesting variation. There's an old technique called port knocking that's been around for decades, where you want to listen on a server for attack traffic from the attacker's going to remote control a server. But if you open a port and start responding to all requests on that port, you'll get caught. All they have to run is a normal port scan, which is a typical, easy to run security measure. They'll notice, wait a minute, there's a listening process that's not appropriate. So what you do is you listen for incoming traffic that is rejected, which you can do at a low level, and there's a knocking pattern. Like first you have to try to get on port 1200, and then 1300, and then 1400. You do all that within 2 seconds, and port 22 will open for 2 seconds. So there's a magic knock that opens the port. And therefore, a normal person scanning will never find it. This sounds like the other version of the same thing. You got malware that doesn't wake up until the packet comes in to wake it up. When Google got hacked by China in 2010, they infected Google, and they caught them as they watched their Google data being stolen, shipped off to a Chinese server that wasn't one of theirs, and they went and illegally hacked into the Chinese server and stole it back. I talked to a Secret Service agent. They told me, yeah, that was illegal. We told them not to do that, but nobody prosecuted. I'm not even sure quite how you could across a national boundary. And they found that 30 other companies, Microsoft, Adobe, and everybody had their data stolen, and they hadn't noticed it. And so, but when China infected you, they're not enough to just take over your machine now and put in malware that scans for things to steal. They put in sleeper cells. They put in time bombs. They put in malware that will sleep for 3 months and other malware that will sleep for 3 years and then wake up and place it back under control. So you think you've cleaned it off. You think you've made backups of the clean system. You restore from those backups. 3 years later, it wakes up and you're owned again. Those are logic bombs. They're notoriously difficult to find. You won't find them with an antivirus scanner. It's not easy. Yeah?
What about when Canvas got hacked?
What about what?
Like a few months ago, Canvas got hacked, I think.
SanDisk?
Canvas.
ScanDisk. It's I don't know it. It's a utility?
The app we use at school, Canvas.
Well, it sounds like a supply chain breach, of which there have been thousands. Did they poison the official software update?
I don't know. It was like some. I forgot what it was. I don't know. They were just asking for money.
Yeah, well, often people get ransomware. They get infected, and then the bad guy just wants money to give you your data back or to promise not to release it. But one thing that's been going on a lot is supply chain attacks, which are really scary. The big famous one a few years ago was the Russians in SolarWinds. They took over SolarWinds. They spent about a year preparing this campaign. They infiltrated the SolarWinds servers. Then they put malware in a real update. So when you updated to the next version from the company with the company signature, you were getting Russian malware. And that infected a lot of American companies, and it went for months before they were discovered. It was a huge, scary supply chain attack. And in the world of software, that was like the Israeli pager attack that happened about 2 years ago when Israel wanted to attack Hezbollah, I think. So they bought a company that manufactured pagers. They manufactured pagers with a bomb hidden in them. They made a special deal to sell them to Hezbollah. Under special circumstances, they distributed them, and then they set them off and blew up people's hands and stuff for all of them at once. And then they gave one of them to Trump as a souvenir, gold-plated. He's like, I'm not sure I want this. And it just points out supply chain failures. How do you know there is not a bomb in your laptop or a bomb in your cell phone? You really don't know. They spent years preparing this. They could do this. Anybody could do this if they're patient and wise, and the nastier people like espionage people do it. So, they're trusting people with the hardware in your supply chain, which is why we banned Chinese hardware in America for military and ISP. They don't want to use military routers because they're afraid, they don't want to use Chinese routers because they're afraid the Chinese will put unauthorized components in there and be stealing our data or sabotaging our network. And China just declared that they're going to quit using Windows. They're going to switch to a Chinese-made version of Linux, which really makes a lot of sense. Since America and China are currently so hostile, why would you be using American-made software on your machine? They're right about that. That doesn't make any sense. We could easily poison that software. And this is happening. Anyway, there's a huge supply chain attack spreading through the online repositories like NPM and PyPI. It's extremely effective. It's been growing for months. They poisoned the supply chain of really popular tools. One of them was a LightLM tool, which is used by a lot of AI companies. That for half an hour, the downloaded update would put malware on your machine, which would then steal all your API keys. So that was enough to infect something like 50,000 companies and steal their keys so they can now infect their products. So it exponentially expands. This has been going on for months. And this places defenders in a really bad position. You put on the official update from the official source, the signature checks, how do you know it's not malicious? One guy made his own defense. He downloaded it and then handed it to an AI agent and say, just look at the code and see if it looks malicious. He was able to spot some of them that way. And I think that's going to have to become a standard thing that your update mechanisms and your antivirus does, is anything comes down, even if it's from a trusted source and signed, you look at the code with an AI to say, does this code appear to be doing something funny, like connecting to a Chinese server or something? That's probably going to be something we have to have in the future. Anyway, that's enough of this. Let me stop this.